Good morning, everyone. I will call this meeting to order, DeKalb County Commissioners. The date is September 18th, 2023. Everyone, make sure your mics are on, and we will take off with Dottie.
All right, let's take off with Dottie. Let's talk a little bit about recruitment. After the 2 days that I spent with council, knowing that the maintenance officer for Sunny Meadows Community Corrections in Central was going to be approved, I went ahead and we started recruiting for that. And we've had some very nice responses to that recruitment. So I will be working with Larry. I think the group made him the point person since Larry will be the supervisor. But I do believe that the other departments will maybe chime in on final selections. And so we'll work on doing all the interviewing, and I will come alongside Larry because he hasn't really had a lot of experience doing that. So we'll work on that. Of course, the highway CDL, I've refreshed and redone the posting, and so far Ben hasn't told me that there's anything. He actually, he has one real opening, but, he's probably going to have two. Next year, there probably will be a third with retirements. So we, in the council meetings, talked about increasing wages or, how we can do that. That's a big department right there, and trying to recruit and retain those employees. So that was a big topic. Confinement, lost 2 employees a couple weeks ago, and so we have a minimum of 2 openings there that we are recruiting for. And the merit position was out there for recruitment, is now closed, and so we will see what happens with the applicants who applied during that time. The sheriff has those. The Central Communications is doing really well with the last 2 applicants, the last 2 employees that came on board in July. And so their training is going very well. Brian thinks perhaps toward the end of the year, we may be able to start recruiting for that last opening that he has. And if you'll recall, the reason that they didn't hire all 3 is it's just really tough to train 3 people all at once. 2 is manageable, but the third one, that takes a little more effort. We have 2 positions that I'm not recruiting for currently, and that's clerks in the auditor's office and the assessor's office. Both of those elected officials have chosen not to. When they were initially open, we recruited, and it's been several months, and they're, just kind of on hold. So,
Why are they on hold, Dottie?
Both of those elected officials just don't have the time to devote to recruiting, interviewing for those positions. I don't know what their office staff is probably, doing double duty for those positions, trying to take care of all the work. So anyway.
Is it the time of year that they're so busy they don't have time to recruit?
That could be, that could be especially for the assessor. The auditor's office has their peaks and valleys, but the assessor's office, I know they're gearing up for the next round. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Then I have my biweekly phone call with United Healthcare's reps, and mainly our big, and a little bit of a follow-up from the meetings that our rep had on September the 7th with various employees who made appointments with him. And so he was following up on those situations. We had a couple good reports from employees who felt that he had really helped them out. Probably our biggest issue will be pharmaceuticals. As you can imagine, they're expensive. And we have pharmaceuticals that are not on our list, and it's a fairly robust list that we have of approved drugs. And in order to get some things, taken care of, a lot of something that the employee was already on before we changed. And as long as they had done step therapy, which is trying different sorts of drugs to see, okay, that doesn't work. We've got to go to the next one. That one doesn't work. It's sort of trial and error, I'm afraid, and that's across the board with all insurance companies. And we have some tough cases that that our rep is really having to handhold with that. And this person talks with the providers, he talks with the facilities, he talks to the pharmacists, in addition to, working with the employee. So when I say hand-holding, I mean, he really does. He devotes a lot of time to those situations, but that seems to be the big area that we have. And it's just kind of the nature of that industry. I mean, if anybody takes any drugs, you know that if you don't have insurance or if it's not covered somehow, and I will be putting out an email this week regarding one of those particular drugs. If you'll recall last year when I got a report from Anthem, and I took the top 10 drugs that our employees take and how expensive that they are, and I actually went in and researched, is there a coupon? Is there something that the employee can get involved in to get discounted or free, that particular pharmaceutical? And while we were on this phone call on Friday, our broker sent both the UHC rep and myself she had done some research and found a coupon program for a particular drug. So I'll be putting that out to all of our employees in case they, feel like they need it. So, I mean, and of course, there's GoodRx. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I have had the GoodRx thing right there on my phone, and I've gone to the pharmacy in years past, and they go, that'll be $7, and I thought it was going to be $14 with GoodRx. It's like, okay, I'll take that, So you just have to be a smart shopper. And but I think United Healthcare is really doing a fine job working through these things that we're encountering. The other part of our plan, dental and vision, payroll, HR, and the standard will be, and our broker will be having a conference call on Thursday, to discuss our invoices. Teresa is very good at working through all of these, and we need to nail down, okay, this is exactly how we need our invoices to show up. This is what we have taken from our employees. We've deducted it from their pay. We can only pay what we have in our little account. And so we'll be, working with that. And we really thought that, with 26 pays, they work with other government entities, and so it's like, okay, you ought to be aware of this. I don't know, there's a communication thing. Anyway, we get all the parties on the phone, we'll hash through that. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a good phone call. As I said, I spent 2 days with council between their meeting and their work days, talking about, of course, the biggest part of the budget, wages, and lots of lots of good discussion about each of our departments, talking about the health department, CDL drivers, our IT department. Those were the big topics. We also had the public defender's office, and what we would do. The public defender had asked if instead of a raise for 2 years, if we would offer benefits. And it appears that council has decided to give them a raise instead. But the public defender and I will be working on how, we could perhaps change the public defenders. There are many who actually work 30 hours or more, in addition to whatever they do outside of the position that we have. And the positions are classified as part-time. And so could they be classified more fully as full-time? So we're going to take a look at that, and then it'll go through the job classification subcommittee, and then through Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy if we need to. The health department had put together except for the RNs, had reviewed each of their own job descriptions, and then Cheryl took a look at them. The subcommittee recommended that it go to Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy because of changes. We had one of the environmentalists' position moved up from a lower classification to the same classification with the other two. I remember working with Cheryl on that position description at the time, and we probably didn't make it as robust because that was kind of the entry-level one, and so now things have changed in the last 3 years. So that went. We had one bump up. And I will be going over to the health department this afternoon to kind of explain the process, why the classifications were how they came back the way that they were. Nobody else really changed classification. And so we'll be talking about that. And then safety committee. So a part of safety, we have our work comp situations, and we had 6 claims that were closed last month. 4 were from the sheriff's office, 1 from community corrections, and 1 from the health department. And actually, just over the weekend, I had another one from the sheriff's office close, so that means we closed down 5, and we still have 8 open claims through the sheriff's office. And I always say, they're the ones with such a risk factor, and you can't guarantee what those offenders are going to do. So I do know that, I've mentioned before about IPEP, our work comp carrier, that they have a law enforcement specific representative. And so she is going to be coming in October to meet with the sheriff's office, and there may be some, physical changes that can be done there at the jail, or maybe there needs to be some different training, open to whatever. And I just really appreciate the sheriff opening up his office to this, because it's our work comp. And, with as much money as you pay in premiums for our work comp, and then you have the claims on top of it, it behooves us to avail ourselves of the expertise that they offer. And speaking of which, that flows into the safety committee. We have training is a big topic. I am still waiting for probably half of our department heads to get back with me one way or the other. We have some departments that I feel are, they have their training done by the state of Indiana because they are state employees. There are other departments that due to like Department of Corrections, there's a whole bunch of things that they have to check off every year. And so those guys have sent me all of their trainings that they do. Then you have the coroner's office, who all of those individuals are full-time employees elsewhere that get a lot of safety training. They really shouldn't have to take it again. If they can provide me with their certificates, I think we're good. Why should we, do that to them? The OSHA 10, we actually had 2 more individuals whose department head recommended that they take it. So now we are up to, I do believe we're up to 12 individuals who will be taking that in October. So that's a really great thing. Another topic with our safety committee is we're talking about evacuation plans. And to give you a little background, when the current safety manual was put out, it was done in 2015, rolled out the beginning of 2016. In that time, we've had a new building be built. We have some other things that we need to work on, especially with annexes with other buildings. I feel that the safety manual is very courthouse-centric, as are most of the discussions that we seem to have. We kind of leave out the redheaded stepchild's children of our county, the other buildings, and so. We had the Health Department, Veterans Services, and the Surveyor's Office working together to create an evacuation plan, an emergency plan for their building. Yes, the cooperation was wonderful, loved it. And so everybody on the safety committee who was in attendance received a copy of that. There were just a few things, and thank goodness Mike Van Zyl was in attendance, because he was able to offer just a boatload of expertise for fire extinguisher training, yes, and some other things, some history that he has with doing some things at the jail. As the Auburn fire chief, he had worked with the jail many, many years ago about an evacuation plan or some sort of an emergency sort of plan. And that was great discussion that we had during then about some equipment that the jail currently has that probably needs to be updated, and what can we do about that. So very happy to have him in attendance. Jason had another meeting, and that's something else that's happening. There is an incident situation meeting, a couple hours, that will be happening on in the 9th Street Annex down in the basement on, I think it's Wednesday afternoon, and Lindsay will be attending that one for the HR department so that she's a little more familiar with everything. So that's going to be great. And that is basically what I have to offer you guys this morning. What do you have for me?
Anyone? Anything for Dottie? No? Todd? Andrew?
Just as I was listening to the evacuation plan and heard that it was in place in 2016, was the courthouse security down there by then?
No, courthouse security didn't come on board until 2020.
So our evacuation plan doesn't have in it necessarily the courthouse security and getting out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have, there's a bit of work to do. Part of the issue, you had 3 department heads over there at the, in the 7th Street Annex working together. What I'm hoping is that I can get some of the others. We have my building, we have this one. Who's in charge? How are we going to announce that there's a need to evacuate? Who's the one who tells everybody, come on back in? It's not like you have the principal of the school. We're a lot different than a school, a fire drill kind of thing. And you just can't really do too much of that with a jail situation when you have people who are behind bars, and how to keep them safe as well as your employees. So we have, it's huge. And I'm hoping that between the committee, myself, our department heads, we can really make some progress on that. I think it's going to be perhaps more of a 2024 target for that. I have kind of a full plate, and I have this now, and we have a lot to deal with. So we'll make some progress on that little by little. Mm-hmm. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, remember. So
Bite at a time.
Generally don't eat elephants.
I don't really care for elephant. Tastes like chicken. So anyway.
Skin's awful tough, too.
It's chewy. Yeah,
It's
chewy.
chewy. Dottie, you mentioned prosecutor.
I did not mention the prosecutor. I mentioned the public defender.
I'm sorry, public defender.
Yeah.
Would those individuals, is there not enough of those individuals available to do that job that they could reduce those hours? In other words, add more people to those jobs that would reduce the hours?
Here, he could
Mark
probably
is
find
here. The expert could, go ahead, stand up at the microphone. Turn it on, please.
You show up prepared to talk.
Blue light on
Yeah.
your mic.
There it is. Okay, question was, get fewer attorneys, you said?
More
Attorneys?
More attorneys
No,
to
that's
reduce those
that's the
hours.
problem. That's the problem right now is attorney shortage. So,
Okay.
believe it or not, I've been giving this stuff to Rick and the council. Yeah, we've just been fortunate enough to keep our office. I have 2 young lawyers who just passed the bar last year. So, in this area, so we're about tapped out. But yeah, we're looking at options.
Next question. In order to qualify for these benefits, would they be willing to work 40 hours a week?
Well, that's just it. They have to finish the cases that are assigned to them. I know that several of the lawyers do over 30 hours a week. I don't know if they do 40. But I've asked them if they want to keep their hours. Some said they're going to do that. So we'll find out.
Oh, keeping a log of the hours.
Yeah.
That would be my next question.
Yeah.
How's that monitored? How's that kept track of?
Are these hourly positions or salaried?
Their salary.
So why-
Mark, please explain what if they were hourly.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So, we went through this whole thing years ago and came up with this plan to have less cost for the county by paying the attorney's salaried positions rather than hourly. If you pay them hourly under the state reimbursement program where we get money back from the state, we get back, over $300,000 a year. They'd have to be paid a minimum of $100 an hour. So the 7 attorneys that we're talking about, if their hours were just 20 hours, earlier in the year I asked to get an idea and the hours were mid-20s. So I just at $20 an hour, you can do the math, $100 a week, it's $2,000 a week, $104,000 a year, minimum. So, you're paying the lawyers over $100,000 rather than a salary of $36,000 and $52,000. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the hourly thing isn't a good idea for the county.
Very much answered my question, I guess. Anything else? Anyone? Questions, comments? Thank you,
Well,
sir.
we're pursuing, we're just trying to figure this out, see if there's something we could do. So we'll see what some of these people provide with their hours. I'm just trying not to lose people.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
The job market is not going to get any better, I can guarantee you that.
I think you're free to go, Dottie. Thank you.
Thanks, Dottie.
Have a good day. Okay. Anything sooner than later on your list?
Read that.
Read that.
Yeah, you're okay with it, the Okra?
Well, that was what was already discussed and approved by
Yeah.
you guys, so this, I think this should be fine. It's just asking for a grant, I think.
Right. I think you've read it.
Motion?
Make a motion that we sign the Okra wastewater project agreement.
Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any additional comments from anyone? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries, and I will. Okay. Let's jump over and do payroll real quick. Pay the people.
I'll move to approve payroll.
In second.
A motion and second. Comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Ooh, do we have any claims? No claims? No claims. Minutes. Get a chance to read the minutes.
Move to approve minutes.
Second.
Motion second to approve minutes. Comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Minutes are approved. Okay, before we jump into anything else, let's have Lita come up and to the podium, and what you got for us, Lita?
Good morning. I'm here regarding the holiday schedule that seems to be a hot topic right now. As an elected official, it doesn't really affect elected officials. We can be off that day. We're salaried. But it does affect full-time staff. It doesn't affect part-time staff, but it does affect full-time staff. It affects the morale of full-time staff, which then does fall down to elected officials and department heads. We keep hearing over and over about saving taxpayers' money. I'm all for that. I think you know that. However, employees' pay is already budgeted, whether we're here or they're not. It's that many days is budgeted. So it's not taking extra money to pay holiday pays. Employees are county taxpayers just like you, me, any elected officials. So essentially, we're paying for ourselves to be here. If you go around about it, we're taxpayers. You want to say taxpayers' money, we pay taxes too. Each holiday on the schedule saves the county money, actually, because part-time employees do not benefit from that. Some of them would be working anyway, but if they're off, you're not paying them. They're not making anything. I have 3 in my office alone. We keep comparing government jobs to the private sector. They're totally different. It's no different than trying to compare healthcare, first responders to manufacturing, or manufacturing to government. we're totally different. We don't have pension, we have pension plans, but we don't have 40, we don't have some of the stuff that they do. Some of our benefits is actually holiday pay, is having those holidays. We compare everything to other counties in the state, from one thing to another. We're always saying, what does Noble County do? What does Steuben County do? What's LaGrange County do? So let's compare the holiday schedules. LaGrange for 2024 will have 15 paid holidays. Noble, 15. Steuben, 15. Wells County's calendar's not out, but I've reached out to them. They had 16 this year and are looking to have 16 next year. Adams County has 14 this year. They're looking to have 16 next year, adding back in their election days. State, Indiana has 14. Why are we looking to do the bare minimum? It's a benefit that does not cost extra to our employees. Last Monday, you were talking about possibly reinstating Martin Luther King Day. You were also talking about, after you reinstate it, what can we take away? Take away Friday of the Fair. In 2010, 14 years ago, Columbus Day was substituted for Friday of the Fair. It's been noted as a substitution on every holiday schedule since then. Before 2010, the courthouse was closed on Friday of the Fair. It is a holiday. It's a substitute holiday for Columbus Day, which is a federal holiday. In 2014, 10 years ago, Christmas Eve was added. In 2020, 2 days were taken away, which were the 2 election days. You want to take away, along with Friday of the Fair, possibly the day after Thanksgiving, possibly Christmas Eve. On one or more occasions, maybe not this set of county commissioners, but county commissioners have talked about how important family units are. Then why take away 3 of the most important days to family units? Friday of the Fair, day after Thanksgiving, and Christmas Eve. Fair Friday is a chance for employees to witness their children and grandchildren selling their 4-H livestock. That is a huge accomplishment for any 4-H. And I think all 3 of you are behind 4-H. It's important. It gets our kids involved. Not only is Fair Friday for 4-H livestock auction, it's set aside for the children for this county. Not only that, they get to participate in the pet parade. Doesn't seem much, but it is to a lot of them. There's other reasons Fair Friday should still remain on the calendar. The noise level is enormous, and it lasts all day. Even with the windows shut, it is completely surrounded the courthouse. It's going to add extra traffic to the courthouse, because would you rather use the courthouse facilities or a porta-john? I know which one I'd vote for. That also puts added work on our security and maintenance. Friday of ACD, we had a lot of traffic coming in. That also deters and makes it harder for the employees to be able to come back and go, because we're waiting on people to come through security. Parking, I'm not sure anyone wants to navigate parking on Fair Friday to do business in the courthouse. There is just no parking, at least for 6 blocks. It's just unreasonable. People will do their business on Thursday mornings before the fair starts up, or they'll wait till Monday. Our courts are not in session, probably for the same reasons I've listed above. Day after Thanksgiving takes away families' time. We close the courthouse on Wednesday. We're closed on Thursday. So we're going to pull everything back up to be here one day and shut everything back down for 2 days. To me, economically, that does not make sense. Same scenario with Christmas. It is time for families to be together and travel and celebrate. Christmas Eve is sometimes the day that people choose to celebrate their Christmas. I ask that you please consider what all I've brought before you. And if you reinstate Martin Luther King Day and do not take anything else away, that's 13 days. And employees, and I've received a lot of emails since they seen I was coming on the agenda, that they appreciate the 13 days. We are less than any of our surrounding counties. 13 days is not much to ask. And like I said, employees that are part-time do not get this benefit. I truly believe that our county commissioners, you have a lot on your plates, but I think there's a lot bigger fish to fry for this county than how many holidays these employees receive. Again, I'm advocating for the full-time employees I have, and I think it's important that they still receive these days. And again, Columbus Day was substituted. We're having the Friday of the Fair off. Thank you.
Questions, Rita? Would you stay at the
Sure.
podium? Questions for Rita or Lita?
Morale, that's something I'd like to talk about. This goes both ways, morale. And I've watched our budget meetings online because I have a job to do, and I watch them afterwards. And I think morale could be better both ways. You're saying morale, we can affect morale by taking away a holiday, let's say. But when you sit in a budget meeting all day that has nothing to do with that department, that shows morale a problem to me. Happened last year. I listened to department heads say they were going to stop doing the court's work and form a union. Rick Ring was present. So this can go both ways. I come in this building, I never hear good morning, I never hear smile, I get scowls now from people. I haven't done anything to anyone. I have sat here and anything a department has need, we have given, whether it's an added position, equipment. It goes both ways, Lita. And I feel as though there is a concerted effort for department heads to get together and not pay a lot of respect to the commissioners when it comes to give you an idea, health insurance. Now, I didn't get the names, but I received emails from HR that said, hey, I can't share this name, but things said that, oh, the commissioners don't know what they're doing, they're going to screw up our health care, and I don't trust them to do anything. Where's this coming from? Are the department heads behind the commissioners saying, hey, you have a good job. I'm going to advocate for you, but you have a really good job. Do you ever tell them to count their blessings? Or is it always, hey, you're being screwed and I'm going to be your advocate? Because we are behind you. We don't want anything to fail. But if we're going to have hostile attitudes towards each other, this isn't going to get any better. We're just trying to devise ways. We represent the taxpayers. So we're trying to do what's best for the taxpayers. And we tried to also convey that, hey, between Christmas and February 1st, we're paying 6 holidays. And that can mess up our schedule. In other words, if we have to get things done on Monday, and that's a holiday, and then another one hits, we don't get anything done. So we're just trying to find a solution together. We're trying to bring up questions where we can work together. But I'm telling you, the animosity that's out there and in the face, just that scowl I get when I walk in, it doesn't make me want to try real hard. I think we could go both ways. I think we could all try harder to do better and work together, is what I'm saying. And I'd like to see that. Because that's the first thing he says, morale. Morale starts with leadership saying, hey, you got a great job. I'm going to advocate for you, but you do have a great job. Let's work together. Can we do that?
We do advocate for our employees.
Okay.
They may not always agree with your viewpoint,
I agree.
okay? I will, if we're being upfront here, a lot of the employees of this county don't even know who our commissioners are.
Okay,
They don't. They know the names, but they don't know your faces.
right?
So, I guarantee, and I might be stepping out on a limb, but the holidays that are on that holiday schedule, you're not going to be here for a meeting. You're not going to be here on July 4th. You're not going to be here on Memorial Day. You're not going to be here on Labor Day. Those are Mondays.
We're not here those days,
Exactly right. That's what I'm saying.
right?
You're not going to pull a meeting together in the Commissioner's Court on Friday of the Fair. I can tell you that. You're not going to want to deal with that kind of traffic to walk up here, let alone the noise.
I'm just talking from Christmas to February. That's a busy time, New Year, budget started, we're getting
And that's where
running.
holidays all fall,
And you
Todd.
just have a bunch of them all at once. We were just trying to spread them out a little bit, combine one. But I'm just saying, it is amazing to me when there's something that is not acceptable, that upsets someone, my emails flood out. But there's never, hey, you did a good job here, thank you for my insurance, thank you for this, thank you for that. It's always negative. There is never anything ever good. And
Well,
I don't understand that.
On the insurance side of it, we've had employees live through the self-insured part, and it was not pretty. So I can't say that you can expect them to be all excited about it when they lived through when it was not nice, when what didn't work.
Do you understand our new insurance, though? It's self-insured, but it's managed. It's
I
not,
am.
okay.
But most of the employees don't understand all that. They just expect the county to have their backs when it comes to insurance. Not everybody understands insurance. No different than some of us understand stocks and bonds. But that's what they're looking at. And when they hear self-insured, they don't hear all the aspects. It's just, this is what we're going to do. This is the insurance we're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of, okay, what does the employees think about this? Yes, it's your job to make sure the county saves money.
Well, that's a good point you make. What does the employee think about this? The problem is health insurance is subjective to the person. So
Exactly
one
right.
employee may love it. The next one may hate it because, as Dottie has said, we've had a few that the drugs didn't come through. And I sat down for an hour and a half with someone and then hooked her up with Dottie. I don't know if that got resolved, but we spend time outside of this commissioner court to make sure. I spent 2 years on this insurance program, 2 years. And it wasn't just willy-nilly, hey, we're trying to save money. We were doing what's good for the employee too. Here's why. If we wouldn't have switched, the premiums were going up somewhere between, well, we negotiate them down to 10 or 15%, but they were asking for 30% increases. So what we do then, well, we just have to make those deductibles higher, cover less, and then we get to the minimum plan, like the bronze plan with Obama, which is a total awful program. But that's where we were heading. So instead, we kept the same coverages. We reduced the premiums by nearly half for most people. Some didn't get it. But not one, hey, thanks for lowering my premiums. It was, you don't know what you're doing, and so I'm just saying it's tough for me to really have sympathy when there doesn't seem to be any respect towards us at all. It's only when there's a problem we get torn into, but there's never, hey, thanks. Hey, I would like to talk to you about this. I got an idea. That's another thing. I never hear ideas from anyone. Hey, we got an idea to improve our department. It's just give us more and shut up is what we hear. That's how I feel. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm out of line. I don't know. This is what I feel. My email fills up when someone's upset. Never any positive ideas. Never any, hey, this is working good, but we can do a little better if we try this. It's always just putting out fires. And I think that needs to stop. I think there needs to be more communication. And if I failed on my end, I apologize. I'll be the first to apologize. But I'd love to have more conversation and less scowling and more good mornings and let's work together happily as a team. I think that needs to happen. And I think that starts with leadership in the departments telling their employees what a great place they work for, because this is a good place to work for. I've never had insurance before, Lita. It is amazing to me that I get insurance with my job. I love it. And I just tell you, I think we all need to be thankful. We start there. I think things will get better if we start there. I think we need to get a respect, whether it's between council, commissioners, department heads. I think we all need to start respecting each other a little more.
Well, I will tell you that when I was a lot younger, I tried to get a job with the county because the county is where you want to work. It's not that way anymore. You can't get people to come work for the county.
Well, okay, there you are again.
You
There
can't,
you are gonna be
but you can't.
We-
It's totally,
Lita.
it's a total different atmosphere than when it used to be. And I'm just 3 years in here.
Lita, we have 237 employees.
Exactly right.
We are seeking nearly 0 positions right now. We could fill possibly 10 if we really wanted to get 10, but we're told, well, we have too much to do. We don't have time to train anyone. My point, the 10 spots, we are at full employment basically with this county right now. There isn't a business in this county that couldn't use 10% more help right off the bat. Some 20 and 30. So again, here is the negativeness. This isn't the place to work. It's all recorded. All our employees are hearing this is a horrible place to work now. This is exactly what I'm talking
We're
about.
not saying it's a horrible place to work, Todd. You're not hearing that out of any of us, saying it's a horrible place to work.
You just said this is not the place to work.
I'm just saying that people are saying, we used to be you couldn't get in here because nobody left. It's a revolving door.
I don't see that. I don't see
Because
the revolving
you're not
door.
in our positions. You're not in the position where we're trying to find workers. You ask the assessor's office, I just got done through it. Do you know how long it took me to even get a part-time person? It is tough.
Okay, and everywhere's that way. My point is we have 237, we have possible 10 open positions out of 237, and we're not even actively trying to recruit them because there's certain jobs we can't even fill right now. But I'm just, again, saying the positive attitude will go a long way. The smiles, that is going to really build morale, and then we can really talk about this holiday schedule and see what works best. I'm not saying it has to be this. I'm willing to listen, but we all need to have a better attitude, and saying things like, well, this isn't the place it used to be, is a negative thing to say because people in their head, maybe I will start looking for a job. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'd just like to see.
I'm just trying to describe what it used to be to compare to what it is now.
Well, my business used to be great too. It was wonderful. 80s, 90s, 2000s was wonderful. Guess what? We're in a different stage of life now. COVID hit. Nobody wants to work now after COVID, or they want to work from home, and it made us all lazy, including myself. And you know what? We better get off that kick of, well, nothing's ever going to be better again because that's just a downward path to 0. And I don't want to see that. I'm not blaming you. I'm saying all of us together, I think, need to work hard for a goal, maybe more communication. I'm good with that. They say they don't know me. I'm happy to talk to them. Reach out to me. They know who I am. Email. I don't get any emails saying, hey, I'd like to talk to you, unless it's a problem. I never get an email saying, hey, could we sit down and have lunch? I'd like to talk to you about what our department does and where a shortfall is. It's always the negative.
I think that's where it is everywhere, Todd. Nobody's going to speak up unless it's something that really affects them.
Well, they should, though. Or at least should have
I
elevated
mean,
to you.
that's just human nature. If you can assume everything's fine if you don't hear something.
All right. Well, that's my point, but I appreciate your input.
I have a comment, Lita. Fair Friday restrooms, we do not provide any restrooms. County does not provide restrooms. You made a comment that if they had a choice between an outhouse and a restroom in the county building, they'd go for the restroom in the county building.
You
Okay.
talk about the people that come in during the day.
ACD Friday, all kinds of people were coming in here just to use the restroom.
I thought we were talking about Fair Day.
Well,
if
yeah,
you're
but I'm
open-
saying what's going to happen. How do you stop someone coming in a public building when they're open? You don't stop
You
them.
don't.
If
No
you
matter
take-
what reason they're coming in through, the guys are going to let them in. If all they're going to do is use the restroom,
They're not coming in with their cell
Have
phone.
we had that?
Maybe not, but
Have we
that
had that
doesn't,
problem? Have we had that problem?
She's saying if you take Good
we have
Fair
not
Friday
been open
away-
on Fair Friday. What I'm saying is, that's what you're looking at based on what happened ACD Friday. It was a revolving door, and that's all they were coming in for, was the facilities. And that's exactly what will happen with mothers and children.
They're not coming. I don't see that happening just because of our security. They can't bring their cell phones, their bags have to be searched, they're not coming in. I'll sit at the
Okay.
door and watch. We can get with the officers. I see what you're saying, though. Before security, oh yeah, let's go and use the nice facilities. But with security, I don't even want to come in this building.
Well, I'm sure security would be happy to tell us what happened during ACD.
Yeah.
If she says there were,
I
I mean,
agree.
she's
I
right
watched
there
it.
by the door.
I watched it, and I had to wait on people,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what they were coming in for.
Another comment it involves the Martin Luther King Day. Last year, we had one Monday out of 4 that we could have a commissioners meeting because we had 3 holidays out of 4 on a Monday. I called a special meeting to fill in the gap because we were not able to take care of county business, missing 3 out of 4 weeks. And we had the same situation coming in 2024. We're going to have 3 holidays in a 4-week span. And that was part of the reason I wanted to move Martin Luther King in with the President's Day. And there was no way that I was trying to disparage Martin Luther King or the holiday. Actually, my thought was to elevate him, that holiday, to the same as President's Day. Because I admire that man a lot. And to me, he could have very well been our first black president had he not been assassinated. So there was no disparaging of Martin Luther King Day. It was just a statistical move to get an extra Monday work session in for the commissioners. Just wanted to make that clear. There was some controversy about moving that holiday. Anything else, Mike?
I think that, I won't say, many at least, and there are those that are all about saving a dollar here or there. I think our taxpayers are more concerned about coming in the courthouse to do business and having experienced people to provide whatever service they're providing, people with a smile on their face and that treat them with respect. I think they're more concerned about having staff that doesn't make a mistake on their tax bill because they're inexperienced or a new person, or assessments don't get screwed up, or they get the correct service at the auditor's office. I think this is really much ado about something that I mean, I understand your point, Bill, about 3 holidays in a row. Last year we did a special meeting. There's no reason we can't do that again. I work all the time on county business anyway. I don't mind coming in on a Tuesday or Wednesday if we want to have a meeting, if we've got business to do. Payroll, we can stop in and sign anytime and those type of things. So the job market is extremely competitive. And Leah is correct about in terms of like Noble County, which is a short drive with more holidays, 15 holidays. LaGrange going to 16. There are only, and I sent out that matrix with 51 of the counties plus a state on it. There's only 4 of that list of 52 government entities that have less than 13 holidays. So, unfortunately, a lot of how positions get filled or poaching good people from places where they're vulnerable. So I'm not as tied up on or wrapped up in what holidays are provided, but I am not an advocate of taking a holiday away. I think it ends up being counterproductive in the long run.
I get Mike's point. I would like to add, though, that it is important which ones we give off, because I've heard from the courts, they're not working that day anyway, so that day needs to be given off. I mean, that was probably a bad choice, just from the court standpoint. You know, I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you. And I'm willing to work on that. So it is important which ones we give off. Though,
yeah, I didn't
no, I know what you're saying.
I mean, I wasn't digging my heels in on.
No, you're saying, well, we got to do Martin Luther King, or we're all going to be labeled if we don't. I understand that. My point is, though, we better give off the correct days if we're going to give them off, because if we're truly looking for efficiency in government, we should give off the days that there's no work to be done anyway. That makes sense.
I agree with that. It doesn't make sense to be closed on a federal holiday because, you know, the Fed's closed, most of the banks are closed, the other offices are closed. You can't do a lot of business anyway. This isn't retail. We're not generating income or revenue, so.
Right.
I'd like to add a comment to that. We're very willing to give up Columbus Day for Fair Day. Columbus Day is a federal holiday.
Well,
So with a little bit of,
We substituted it, yeah.
I don't know if you were, but none of us, Todd and I weren't involved in that decision. I probably would have had a different conversation.
No, but what I'm saying, there were deals made.
Understand.
And I just think, again, if we all put our heads together and we stay calm and we stay positive, we will fix this problem. And if we can't fix the problem and there's going to be hatred amongst us, this is just going to get worse and worse. And again, it starts with, this is a great place to work. It is as good as it used to be.
I think hatred's a hard word here. I don't think anybody's hating anything. It's just that 13 holidays seems to be fair. 13 paid days off seems to be fair. If you're going to compare apples to apples, county to county,
Okay.
I don't think that, you know, I think the benefits of having 13, as far as go back to morale, I think that all goes a long way. It's an inexpensive way to keep employees happy and to be positive. You know, we just seen Riki Corporation do something, and here I'm not comparing them, but it created a lot of animosity and a lot of people left.
What'd they do?
They restructured their holidays, or restructured their time off and their seniority time.
make you a deal.
What? Now we're deal making?
I'm deal making. I'll trade 3 holidays for a 40-hour work week.
What? And here again, you know, we'll come back at you on that one too. You're not going to gain a whole lot by adding 5, and it's going to cost the county more.
Well, I'll tell you.
Let me just
Go
throw
ahead.
this statistic out and then you go ahead. Only about a third of our full-time employees actually only work 35 hours. The rest are 40 or more. We've got 237 employees, about 80 of them work the short week. So.
I'll tell you why I understand your point on that. However, I was just told that they don't have time to train someone. 5 hours in a day, an extra 5 hours, I could probably train someone. Not only that.
A week, not a day.
Wait, yeah, week, I'm sorry. Not only that, the benefits, we're paying full-time benefits on 35 hours. If we went to 40, do we need as many people as we have?
Yes, that doesn't change the dynamics.
It doesn't. So if we went to 20 hours a week, it'd be the same thing. We get the same amount of work in. There is no amount of hours that would give more production.
I can't speak for every office. I can speak for mine. A lot of my office is out of my hands. It comes through our e-recording companies. That's a lot of my office work is e-recordings. Okay, I don't have control over that.
How does that, what does
They
that
shut
mean as far
down.
as?
If
Okay.
they shut down, it doesn't come through my office. My office, it comes through first. Any documents that get e-recorded come through my office first. If my office is not there, then assessor's not going to get it, auditor's transfer's not going to get it, and now GIS is involved. GIS won't get it.
Okay.
And then it ultimately comes back to me. So you mess with one, it's a snowball effect.
So you're saying if the 5 hours were added a week, you wouldn't be working those anyway, right?
I'm going to have to shut my office down at 4:30 anyway, because I have to balance the books for the end of the day. We can't take any more in.
Okay.
So it's not going to change. And as far as training, you got to be up and running to train these people. Things have to be happening. Adding an hour is not going to make a difference.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's not going to make a difference,
All right.
at least from my office. It might somebody else's, but I'm not speaking for everybody else's office.
Okay. All right.
Anything else? Okay. I think
Thank you.
we're
Thank you.
concluded. Thank you, Lita. Comments? Further discussion? This is going to be between the commissioners. No,
You don't want any comments from the public?
no. No, not at this point.
All right, I think that goes to the point that Todd's making right now. Because I know that a lot of our employees right now are listening or watching this online. And by shutting the discussion down, you're showing that there is no respect for these people.
I'm
No.
not shutting the discussion down. I'm telling you, it's going to be comments by the commissioners first. Then you can have your time. That's making an assumption that you have no ability to actually discern.
I have no comments other than, like I said, I would love to just work together with everyone. I've been through, I'm a rookie here compared to most, but I've been through 2 of these budget meetings at the council. Last one I watched online. I just see no respect. I thought the council was treated roughly. They have a very tough job trying to set salaries in a very tough environment. And whether you like Rick or don't like Rick, I think that he took a lot of heat in the budget process, and I think it comes from all angles. And I think if everyone was just a little bit more considerate, I think you can get more. You get more with honey than you do with salt. And that doesn't mean you have to bend over backwards and kiss people's butt, but that common courtesy when you sit down and that smile, you start with a smile and you disagree and you leave friends, then things can get done later. But if we have animosity, and we're going to hold on to that animosity, and we're going to show our people that we have animosity, it doesn't get better. So that's the only thing I'd like to say. I'm willing to have this discussion, but it has to be with respect amongst back and forth both ways.
Mike?
I think I said pretty much
Okay.
all I've got to say about it, except I guess I'll say that to Todd's point Todd just made, we've got council on one side trying to adjust wages and
Right.
get wages up where they think they should be or where the studies show they should be, because we want to be able to recruit and retain people. And then on this side, we're taking away a paid holiday. Seems counterproductive to me. I think that the holiday schedule that was presented is just fine, should be approved. If we need to have a special meeting to do some business in between, I'm certainly willing to do that. But I think taking away a paid holiday now, while we may have maybe some short-term savings, I'm not convinced that we do. I think it comes back and bites us in the long run, and it's just counterproductive.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Okay.
I've got one statement to make. It seems like everybody wants more pay. We got to be more competitive with the pay, and yet at the same time, everybody wants more time off. Well, it's either one or the other. How do we give more pay and more time off and balance the books? And my arithmetic says that doesn't work. There's no way that's possible. It's one or the other or some blend, but I mean, we can give pay, and yet, how do we give more holiday? That's pay. That's pay out of our pocket. When somebody comes up here and says, well, that doesn't cost the county any more money, that is not statistically possible because it will cost the county more money. Because there's time lost of productivity. We're paying for people to take time off producing nothing. That's all I had. Open it up now to the public.
Well, first of all, the moving from 35 to 40 hours is probably not the right discussion. We have moved people up to 40 hours when the amount of work that they have justifies it. However, if we're going to compare ourselves to other counties, take a look. It's not moving from 35 to 40. It's moving from 35 to 37 and a half. If we have that additional work to do, I'm in agreement. We move to that. We move to 35 hours because of a period of time when the county could not give raises. And that's what we could do. Now we're moving back the other way, and we are adjusting it as necessary. As Mike has said, we have many of our employees do work 40 hours or more. So that is being looked at. As far as the how the commissioners are approached about being positive or negative, as Lita has said, it's human nature. You're gonna, it's like the rumor. If it's a bad rumor, it's gonna spread 10 times faster than if it's something good. People are always gonna come out and complain if they see something bad. Very few people in all aspects come out and give you a thank you or good job or gee, I'm glad you did it that way. That just doesn't happen. That's not human nature. So we have to accept that. And I was being very truthful when I know that most of our employees are listening or watching right now.
Of course they are.
And some of the snide comments or the quips that are made during these meetings, including the council, I'm not gonna absolve us from it, but some of those comments are taken very harshly by the employees. And if we don't go visit those employees, if we don't go visit those departments, we're not going to change the attitude. And all of our council people do not visit their council liaison appointments like they should, and some do. But it's on both sides. But we have to reach out to them. We are the managers. That is our job, reaching out to them. It's not the employee's responsibility to come to us. That's just good management. Now, as far as the holidays are concerned, I see no issue with going to the 12 federal holidays. And then if you want to add Fair Day, you want to add Christmas Eve, depending on the year, because not, if Christmas Eve falls on Saturday or Sunday, it doesn't really make any difference. And if you want to add, which one am I forgetting? The day after Thanksgiving. If you want to add those three, that's up to you. But we ought to go with the
There's 11
federal holidays.
11 federal.
I think there are 12.
There's 11.
Is it?
11.
There are 11? Okay,
Yeah,
so we ought to
yeah.
go with those 11 and then add the ones that you want to add.
Okay.
But as far as having 3 holidays or even 2 holidays in the same month that prevent us from having a commissioners meeting, we are, 4 months away, 3 months away from 2024. You have time to plan for meetings on a different day so that it's not a surprise when it gets here. Now, we are one of the few counties that actually meets every week. Quite a few counties in this state meet every other week. And I don't know if you have enough business to even justify being here every week. but that's up to you to decide. Now, if you meet twice a week or twice a month, you maybe have to go to a 6-hour or 7-hour meeting. And I'll be the first to tell you, I don't like anything that goes that long. But that's up to you to adjust, but you got plenty of time to do it. So I would encourage you to support the 11 and then adding the other ones as necessary for the employees. I mean, they are looking at what we're doing. And this is where the historical knowledge comes into play. I have worked with every single county commissioner in this county since 1975. I have only ever missed working with one, and that was Tim Heffley years ago. But either as EMS director or some other position within the county, I have worked with all the commissioners. And they've all tried to do their best for the employees. And I would hope that our commissioners now continue that same attitude and do for our employees what we can. And we have to keep our constituents in mind. There's no doubt about that. But these people are the county. This is when somebody thinks of DeKalb County, they think of Lita, they think of Sandy, they think of the sheriff, and those are the people that we need to support. So that's it.
Hey, quick question, Rick, if you don't mind. You said, I think it was around 2010, the county got in some pretty tough financial times. How did we get there, in a nutshell?
Just, at that particular point, I'm not sure that I could answer that today.
Okay.
But we were running, during the budget time, the financial advisors have told us you want to keep between 25 and 30% of your cash balance to go from time to time. So if money doesn't come in from property tax collections, that you can survive. At one time, Susan went back to 2010. We had 2%. We're now well over 30. And in fact, that's going to help us because we're going to be able to put additional money in the rainy day fund. And that'll do two things. Its initial earmark will be for any type of co-payment or matching grant that we have to have. The other is as a savings for the new jail. Because any money that we can save for the new jail is that much less that we have to charge in a bond issue of any kind. So we'll be able to put more money into that rainy day fund. But when you get stuck, when that was before, that would have been before property tax freezes. And the thing that I read yesterday that really kind of scares me because of what the state's doing right now. Everybody's pushing the fact that they want to match what Texas is doing in income tax.
Right.
There was a list put out yesterday of the 10 worst states for property tax, and who's at the top of that list? Texas, because they don't have an income tax; they gather it mostly through property tax. That would just be a killer.
The only reason I bring that up is I think the government was not different than any private sector business.
Right.
2008. Everyone was partying like it was 1999, 2007. My house goes up 20% a year. I'm getting a home equity loan because this thing will be worth $1 million. I'll pay it off with cheaper money later. And then guess what happened? No one had jobs. The end of the world was here. I just want to make sure that we're not duplicating that again. I love the idea of rainy day. I don't like the idea of, okay, we're going to spend all this money and we're going to.
No, we're not.
Because these property taxes
we're not,
are coming
and that
down.
was one thing that the council just went through last week. We're not going to spend it all, and we want to make sure that we have that cash balance. So if that bottom does fall out, we can make it.
Good. I just want to make sure.
And back then, if you only had 2%, you were going in the hole.
Yeah.
You were definitely going in the hole. And when we talk about rounding this back up, but the being self-insured on the health insurance before. Now, I was involved from the outside because I was still working for the hospital at the time, but we had a poor manager.
Yeah.
We didn't, the hospital and many other industries were self-insured and they were doing very well.
Right.
But the broker and the professional help that we had on the other side was not there before. and the employees suffered, and the county suffered because, when I came on the council, we were like into $2 million in the hole to ourselves that we owed from being self-insured. And that has been the one instruction through this, that we need to make sure we stay on top of that every single quarter, every single year. We cannot allow ourselves to go in the hole. And that'll be the responsibility of the council to make sure that we put enough money into that fund. But on the side of the commissioners and HR, we got to make sure that we keep a good broker that can help us with the cost of pharmacy, with the cost of hospitals and negotiating these things. Right now, hey, we're doing great.
And that's why, and this was a tough decision, just so everyone knows on this insurance, this was not an easy decision for me. And the reason being, it was 2 years because 1 year we were going to do it and we said, hey, we don't have enough information, we better just stick with the other plan. We didn't want to make a mistake, but it was very hard for me not to use insurance trustees again. They handle our liability, they're good people, but you know what? I did what was best for the county because I did not feel as though that they had the service that we're getting from Surest. The Surest we're getting from our broker. Not Apex, I'm sorry, with Surest is the app, I'm sorry. But so everyone knows, I just want everyone to know, this wasn't a willy-nilly, hey, we're just gonna try to save money, monkeys thrown at the dartboard. This was 2 years of preparation, and we've also limited our liability to maybe just a scotch more than what we were paying in premiums anyway. And so, and once I learned how this works, and maybe you know, because you've been in this medical field so long, when Anthem would tell us, hey, your claims were 2.2 million, you only paid in 2.1, so you're going backwards. When I looked at what they throw into claims, they threw 950,000 of administrative expense in.
Well,
and so there's a lot to learn on that.
I was on the committee between the commissioners and the council and a couple of our employees in moving from the self-insured to PHP. I spent over a year on that committee. I was on the committee that went to the Surest or to the United plan that we've got now. Unfortunately, I knew what was going to happen when we moved from PHP to Anthem. That is a typical move that happens between insurance companies. So you got to be careful on that one.
Yeah.
It happened not quite as quickly as I thought it would, but it ended up being the same thing. And we have to watch that with the Surest. I mean, we don't want to get into that position.
I agree.
But it is that, the wages are very important to all of our employees. I will never discount that. But that health insurance is extremely important. That, having bad health insurance can throw somebody into bankruptcy so quickly, no matter what they get paid.
I agree.
So that has to be a priority for our commissioners and for the council to make sure that the employees have that benefit.
And again, I think that we provided as good. Now, a few people were affected negatively, don't get me wrong. Not only did we give them as good, if not better insurance, a lot of people, we lowered their premium 50%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I just want people to know that if we take away a holiday, I'm sorry, but we also gave you another maybe $500 in your pocket for the year, or $1,000 that you didn't have before.
Well,
and so there's give and take.
What's going to happen here is going to be, again, typical of human nature. You're probably not going to hear a lot of positive or a reduction in the negative until we've got a year or two experience. Once that experience, the employees are comfortable with it, they understand what's happening, then I think you'll hear less and less.
I get that.
And where I know Dottie's having issues with the standard, and she and I have talked about this. If we would have established what's called a cafeteria plan to allow the employee to put the money they need for an annual eye exam and 2 annual dental exams into a cafeteria plan pre-tax, you probably wouldn't need that insurance, either one of them. And when I was at the hospital, I estimated that every year. I knew exactly what I needed because in a cafeteria plan, if you don't spend it all before the end of the year, you lose it.
Are you talking about dental and vision here?
Yes,
Okay,
dental
yeah,
and
for
vision.
standard.
Dental and vision only, yeah, no, it has nothing to do with the medical.
No.
But, and I asked why we didn't go to that this time rather than these two insurance plans. And talking with the surest, there was a lot of paperwork, a lot of crossing of I's and dotting of I's and crossing of T's that needed to happen to move from our previous insurance into the cafeteria plan. Come next year, about April, May, we should start looking at that to offer that to our employees. Because then our, basically, yes, it switches the payroll department from taking deductions for one thing and changing it over to something else. But I think it'll be a great benefit to our employees, but it's also something that they will have to be educated on. Because if they put too much money into it, they end up losing it.
Lose it, right.
And if they don't put enough in, then they got to pay the going rate for a lot of things.
And
so.
unfortunately, and I discussed this, and I know we're going in the weeds a little bit, I just wanted to fill you in because I don't get to talk to you very much. The dental insurance isn't really insurance. It's a prepaid maintenance plan. You know, cleanings, it's like saying, well, I have insurance on my car, I'm going to go get it washed today.
Yeah.
Well, you know, no, you paid for a car wash. And my wife is a dental hygienist. Two of my best friends are dentists. They're dropping their insurances left and right.
My wife worked in dentistry for 30 years.
You know what I'm talking about.
And,
because
yeah,
they do
I
a
understand
crown and they charge $1,500 and the insurance company says, well, we pay $580 for that. Not in my office, you don't. I'm not taking the insurance. So you're better off to go to that dentist and say, hey, I've got this savings plan. I have cash. What do you charge for a crown? $1,500. Okay, you take $1,000? Oh, yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, as I said, I estimated what I needed for an eye exam. I knew what that was going to cost me. I need one a year as a diabetic, and I was going to get 2 cleanings a year, and one of those times I would have x-rays.
Yeah.
My dentist lets me know how much that is. That's the amount I put in the cafeteria plan.
Yeah.
It's pre-tax. I'm good.
The pre-tax is a great
And
benefit.
I'm taking a chance that I won't need a crown. If I still had kids of that age, I'd maybe do something with orthodonture, but those are all extras. The basics that I know I needed every year, I could estimate it.
Yeah.
But you also have to think about, you and I plan, not everybody does. So that really puts a little burden on HR because they have to really educate our employees so that they make the right, help them make the right decision. So,
One comment, we've always agreed between the three of us and Dottie that there's going to be some tweaks as we move forward through the next couple of years. So, you know, we're open to that. It's not, this is cut and dried, it's got to stay as it is.
Yeah,
We'll make the tweaks.
we're flexible.
and I understand that.
That's
I
the
understand
advantage
that.
of being self-insured, is we can make those adjustments much easier than
You know,
fully insured.
and Todd, if I remember right, and this is one thing that got us caught at the time that we began to be self-insured, we had a couple of transplants and major cancer in industry. So you've got to be able to plan for that ahead. And we've got better professional help now than we had back then.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
much
we've got-
better decision by the commissioners
Well, I
this
think-
time than the last
I
time.
think our stop loss kicks in much lower than it did
Yeah, the most
back
we
when
can
we were
lose is,
self-insured before.
the most we can lose is about $300,000, if I remember right, isn't it, Bill? Above and beyond what we paid. That'd be worst case scenario. I mean,
Was that how it's structured? Basically?
Well,
yeah, before the reinsurance and all that, yeah, and
I think it kicks in at 75,000.
is that what it is? Yeah. But I'm just saying total loss, I think, for the county above what we would have paid with insurance, worst case scenario would have been about 300,000.
And there, we look at the rainy day fund. Because if we have a year that is that bad, that we are going to lose, rather than go in the hole,
Yeah.
we can move that money over. I mean,
like that.
it's what all of us do. We try, if we have a project or a future expense that we know about, we try to save for it. And that's basically what the county is doing here by going self-insured and keeping that cash balance. that gives us room to move if we have to. And that's, we don't want the taxpayers to be surprised. We want to make sure that they're fully informed and, you know, we are looking for the worst case scenario. So, in the future.
What I see in the future, I mean, I have never seen home appreciation, real property, go up like it has in the last 4 years. It's unsustainable. So, and our tax rates always lag a little. They're now catching up. I just don't want us to get hooked on this drug.
No.
And then the drug get taken
Well,
away.
we got to make sure that assessed valuation stays up, because if it starts to fall, then it will eventually
That's what I'm
start
saying.
hitting the other way. So that is very important that happens. But right now, things are good right at the moment.
Things are humming now.
But you're right. I was talking to some people on Sunday during a project that we were doing, and they were looking for a new house. And every time they've made an offer, and they always had to offer a good $5,000 to $10,000 over the asking price, and they lost every one of them because somebody offered even more. How long can we go on like that? I have
We
no
can't,
idea.
especially with rates going up and general inflation.
Yeah,
So
and
I'm just,
I have a friend in Garrett who sold her house in just a few hours.
oh yeah.
And for more than the asking price.
I'm thinking about
It's just-
selling
it's
mine.
ridiculous.
I'm thinking about selling mine,
Okay,
moving in a
everyone.
tent. So
We are up against the clock
Yeah.
for the pledge.
All right, thank you.
thanks for the input.
Well, I got a text from Rick Hall about 8:49 that said there's an accident on 69, traffic stopped, so we'll be late, I'll keep you posted. I assume he's moving again because he's not responding to text messages, so,
Who is that?
Rick Hall.
Oh.
Whatever, 10:30 for the
Few things,
executive.
yeah.
Executive, right?
Yeah, I think that's 10:30.
I think it was, yeah, it wasn't on the schedule, so I couldn't remember what.
Yeah.
I knew he was coming in. Got it right here. All right. Oh, my
Mike's back
favorite.
on. What do you want to do with the holiday issue? Ready? What we got, 15 minutes? Yeah. Really quick. Rick kind of burned up all the public time.
Run out of writing room, but I'm ready.
Well, I just want to make the comment that, if, as department heads and elected officials, if we do not advocate for our employees, then shame on us. That's what our job is. That's what we need to do. And the industry standard for holidays is pretty much what you've been doing all along. And I'm not really sure why all of a sudden holidays has become an issue. Todd, I did want to address your comment about the health insurance. If you've had 2 years that you were working on this, there was no communication to the employees. All we know is come June, somewhere in there, we know we're going to have to sign up. We've went from self-insurance to PHP to Anthem. Every year we hold our breath and hope that the insurance is better than what we had the prior administration. So the second week in June, we get an email, hurry up, you've got to sign up. You've got 8 days to sign up for something that you don't even have a choice. This is what it is. We've decided for you. And oh, by the way, we are taking away, we're no longer paying the dental, we're no longer paying the prescriptions or the vision. So when you add those back in, it's not a 50% savings. So, because and I know it's different for each person, but I actually only saved $2.05. But when I added back in my vision and my dental. So, and then, you lost your HSA contribution. So.
Where I lost too.
Right. So.
But only 10% of us were on that.
But you only had, you didn't have an option. You chose. And so our employees hope that the insurance is better because that's what you've told us. But if you've worked 2 years to communicate, or 2 years on the health insurance, there was no communication to our employees that this was going on. So the morale is, okay, here we go again. We've got one more, we'll wait and see if this works. And then, every procedure, we're supposed to shop around to make sure we get the best deal. That's to our advantage, and that's how that plan works. But, it's different. And, I just think that communication is a two-way street. You're not always going to get an employee, everybody to say, oh, great job, you worked 2 years on that, and on that plan. It just keeps taking a little piece at a time from our employees. And when you look at the big picture, you took away the Christmas dinner. I don't care, it's a dinner, whether it's a meeting or not. You took that away. We don't give our employees anything for the holidays, like the private sector, no ham, no turkey, no $25 or anything to give them a bonus. And the comment about the council meeting, as an elected official, as a department head, the only way that we're going to know what's going on in these meetings, council meeting, budget meetings, is if we either sit in and educate ourselves as to what is going to happen to our employees. We're there to advocate for them. We're not there to be negative. And DeKalb County is a great place to work. I've worked in the public sector all my life.
Do you see the problem, though, with, you didn't see the highway department sitting here, you didn't see the veterans office leader here, you didn't see the health department here. There were 4 of you ladies here that basically stared them down the whole time, and it happened last year too, and there was no reason for that. In my opinion, you can do what you want. You're an elected official. You can do whatever you want, but people are watching, and you could have watched it online just like I do and say, okay, this is what they're doing, this is what they're doing. You have your time to present for your department. They say, hey, what do you need in your budget? Tell us what you're thinking. At that point, you're done. You have given what you need to do. It's time to let them do their work without feel as though Guys,
Okay.
we're being watched and beat up on. That's all I'm
I
saying.
got-
You're a
Everybody-
public
everybody,
official.
buddy.
Nobody stared anybody
I'm
down.
gonna have to cut this off.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just having a
Sorry,
discussion,
but,
that's all.
We've got a session coming up, executive session, with a cleanup.
Now,
Okay.
So we're gonna have
Rick's,
to cut
Rick's about a half hour out. He said he'll be here about 10:45, so we got a little bit of
a little bit of time.
leeway. I know the sheriff had a couple of things he'd like to
Yeah,
say.
Sheriff. We kind of got off into the weeds there, off of the holiday
Yeah.
thing, and so,
I tend to do that, I'm sorry.
yeah, everybody did.
Good morning. Brady Thomas with the Sheriff's Office. Just a couple comments I was going to make. We talked earlier about the fair day and the bathrooms and people coming in. I do think that there would be an increased traffic that day from people attending the fair. A lot of people downtown, of course. I think that will make it much, much busier there, which does not make me a difference as far as the Sheriff's Office goes. We'll screen people either way, whether there's 2 people that day or 500 people that day. I encourage people to use the bathrooms in the courthouse. It is a public building, so we welcome people into it. So it's not going to make me a difference, but logistics-wise for the commissioners and the staff, it could affect the staff coming and going from the courthouse. So commissioners might want to think about that. However, regardless of that, I would not advocate for eliminating that holiday. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't advocate for eliminating any holidays. I think sometimes, as the county government employer, that would be going in the wrong direction. I think that, as we always hear, we have to compete for the employees, and sometimes that would mean thinking outside the box. And like we have in the past, what can we do for the employees that are going to make it a better employer? Holidays is one of those. I think sometimes it's also easy to forget that taking away a paid holiday for an employee, I think, almost feels like a pay cut. We look at it as it's a day off, but taking that day off. But actually, that's what it feels like to an employee is a pay cut. Took something away from them that they already had. And I know, Todd, you had mentioned, I think it was last week or so, you were talking to a nurse that we were talking about the number of days that we get off. And you made a comment that she said, well, where do I sign up? I was like, well, I think that's our goal, isn't it? As an employer, to have people out there saying, hey, I want to work there. So we may be full, near full staff here at the county, and that's a great thing. But I think we all have to continuously think, what can we be doing, and how can we make it an even better place to work? So I want to keep it brief, but those are my comments.
Thank you.
Sheriff?
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sheriff.
Okay, you want to move on this today, you want to table it?
I'd like to talk, just like to think about it and talk about it and table it.
Okay, let's table it till next week. And we'll move on it then for sure.
I would urge us then to make sure that we act on it next week.
Yeah,
I think-
There's a
Yep.
considerable amount of planning and things, and depending on what we end up doing, people have to arrange for childcare and all kinds of different things if we end up changing things. So I don't want to put it off any longer than till next week.
okay, we will do that. All right, let's move on. We have an ordinance to take care of. Ordinance 2023-R-16-DCC 4-1-10. No trespassing ordinance. Okay. Everybody read the ordinance online? Any discussion, comments, corrections, additions?
I'll move to approve ordinance 2023-R-16. As written by our skilled county attorney.
Thanks for adding skilled in there.
I will second.
A motion and a second. Comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Miscellaneous topics. Jody. Nothing else. Mike.
Just a couple of kind of updates on some timely topics. We've had much discussion about highway funding recently, and the wheel tax discussion and all of that. The root of the problem is the funding formula that the state puts together. And that is going to be a real priority for the Indiana County Commissioners Legislative Committee and the Mayor's and Commissioners Caucus Legislative Committee. Both of them, the Indiana County Commissioners at our board meeting last week, we hired a lobbying firm to work strictly on that issue, to get that funding revamped. We're going to be meeting with the legislators that are on the Indiana First Committee and get in front of them and talk about that. There's a Commissioners Caucus are working on that from a regional basis. I don't know for sure, I don't have all the numbers together, whether DeKalb County is a donor county or not, but the region is. The Northeast region has about 13% of the population. We get about 8% of the funding. So that's going to be a real push to try to get that road funding formula changed, more money back to the counties and municipalities. So,
Yeah, I appreciate your work on that, Mike, I actually really do. And that's where it's got to start.
yeah.
The funding formula is ridiculous. And the NDOT gets a bulk of the funding. And where I watch them, and some of the stuff they do and the inefficiencies of the NDOT department, it's just boggles my mind. We could operate on what they waste. I hate to make a statement like that publicly, but it's the truth.
Well,
It's the
going
truth.
forward,
I see 4 trucks, 10 people, and an excavator replacing one culvert up State Road 4.
and one thing I'd like to see happen, if possible, that we can control here. You know, look, we need to get that funding, like you said, but we've got to, I don't know what the number is for sure that our surplus is this year. We're going into budget surplus of 2 or 3 million. I can't remember
the
additional.
state?
No, for the county,
county.
from property
Okay,
tax.
yeah.
I'd like to see if we're gonna, I would encourage the council to do the wheel tax because I think it's needed.
Yeah,
I know it's a new tax that's very unpopular, but hey, if we got the surplus, let's do the rainy day fund and whatever that tax was on the place, let's lower the property tax percentage by a little bit and save there, possibly. You know, or let's think outside the box. Is that a possibility to not have a net tax increase?
Yeah, we can't do anything on the property tax, DLGF.
We
does
can't
that
lower our rate?
calculation. Well, no, DLGF does that calculation.
I think that we're in control of our tax rate on property taxes. If we submit a budget that's lower, there's no reason why.
The only way you have to lower the levy
Okay.
in order to do that. Okay,
I'm gonna look into that because it seems to me like we
Right.
should be able to lower our
Well-
property taxes if we want to. If we can't lower our property taxes,
well, so,
and you may be right.
yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
I know that
Okay.
you don't want to lower the levy. That's because if the next year you have a problem, you can't, it's almost impossible to raise it again.
Okay.
So, but if you look at the DLGF website and look at all the entries on the certified budget, the Department of Local Government Finance certified budget is what sets the property tax rate. So it's the levy divided by the AV and
Now, how's the levy determined?
that's the budgets that are submitted.
Right.
So that's your maximum levy along with.
That's what I'm saying.
along with
We're
the-
throwing a huge
with
budget
the-
in there.
Well, that budget's only $31 million.
That's 3/4 of our budget.
Budget's 67,
Oh, so, yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
But-
well, yeah.
But
yeah.
so here's an interesting calculation. Difference between 2022 and 2023. Our budget in 2022 was 29.3 million.
Mm-hmm.
This is the certified budget. The budget in '23 was 31.8 million. But in the tax rate went down,
Mm-hmm. Assessed
from
values went up.
40.74 in '22 to 0.385 in '23 because of the increase in assessed valuation. That's where economic development and growth has a far more drastic effect on tax rates than anything else.
I agree with that, but just like our employees here suffer due to inflation, my property taxes in the last 5 years have went from 20, where they, when I moved in, 2,400 to almost $4,000 in 5 years. They've nearly doubled.
Yeah.
So the money coming out of my pocket is nearly doubled. So I don't care what the rate is, the money that has come out of my pocket is doubled. So,
And
so.
that's a function of inflation in property values. It's not, I mean, that's not something
Right,
the
but
county
does,
controls.
but does the, just because someone's property goes up in value and that's where their nest egg is, their savings, they have a mortgage, and now we're gonna turn the screws on them and take more of their money, and we gotta run the government, don't get me wrong. But if we're gonna institute a tax on their vehicles to take care of our roads, I think we should give them a little bit of reprieve on the nearly doubling of their property taxes. Not everyone's doubled, don't get me wrong, but I just really think that the system of, hey, times are great, property values going up, we're gonna really bank a bunch of money, and that's why I asked Rick specifically about how did we get in 2010. I'll tell you how we did it. Property, you remember,
Yeah.
2003 to 2007 was, you can't go wrong getting in real estate. Here come the assessed values, here come guess what? Boom, 50% decline in prices, and it took 3 or 4 years for those assessments to get down to there. But once they did get down there, we started going, crap, now where are we gonna get our money? So I'm thinking it's better off to play the long game, and the long game isn't, okay, peaks and valleys, put it away, and raise your spending there, and then scramble and say, okay, now we gotta go to it. Because one of the things we did, instead of giving raises, was a 35-hour work week. That was one of the reasons we did the 35-hour work week, because we couldn't afford to pay, the full time. So when you have to make decisions to cut your work week, you didn't plan well long-term, in my opinion. There was not good long-term planning there, and I want to see a long-term plan to where in 2025, and it's coming, when this all falls apart, we aren't going, oh crap, we got to keep those assessed values up. Why would I want to keep the assessed values up if the house isn't really worth that? And they wouldn't, our assessor wouldn't do that to someone, but it's.
Well, the assessment formula is all
No,
set
that's
at
what I'm
the state
saying.
level anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We don't have any control over
There's no chicanery happening in our assessor. I'm just saying, the system that we're dealt with, I think it's time to, when we can lower some taxes, I think we would be amiss not to if we're gonna introduce another tax. In other words, the burden's getting to the point where I'm hearing people say, you know what? DeKalb County's maybe not the place to live, if this continues. If it's just this tax, now we're gonna take the jail tax to the 0.2 before it's over with. We're gonna do the wheel tax. Property taxes keep going up. People's incomes are not keeping up with inflation, whether it's government taxes or it's just general inflation. Wages are not keeping up with it. I think we need to do for our taxpayers whatever we can to lessen that burden, because their home, I never understood the concept of taxing someone's property yearly anyway. You never own it, to me, but that's into the weeds,
Yeah.
But we're dealt that. I think we should do what we can to keep it as reasonable as we can.
Well, and I certainly don't argue with that. The issue is, in the federal budget, when you're talking trillions of dollars,
Yeah.
there is so much fat in that.
Oh, I know.
And corruption and everything else, that you could find tons and tons of savings, which would lower taxes. If you look at the budget here, there isn't that much fat in there. There's not that many places you can trim and still provide the services that your constituents want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all for for doing away with any unnecessary spending or wasteful spending or anything else. But there isn't enough of that in our budget to make a meaningful impact on taxes. Whereas if the economy grows at a reasonable and sustainable rate, and that picks up the lion's share of increased assessed valuations, then everybody's tax rates go down. It's the old "a rising tide lifts all ships."
Yeah, no, it's definitely many facets to the issue to look at. It's just not clear cut one way or another. I just, again, the burden, I think of the single mom that's trying to get by, and the biggest people hurt on property tax are the poor and the middle class. The rich don't care if their house is $5 grand, 10 grand. They're like, make $1 million a year. What's that? That soccer mom trying to figure out how she's going to buy books or clothes for her kids going to school, and because they rent, and this is what I keep pushing on property taxes. Renters pay the most property tax because the landlord ain't paying it. He's just rolling it into the rent. A house doesn't get a homestead. It's assessed at 2% of its value, not 1%, and no homestead credit. So a $200,000 house that's homesteaded is only $2,000 a year. A $200,000 apartment is $4 grand a year in tax. Well, $4 grand a year is $300 a month just in taxes that per. So again, I look, and I know that's a state issue, 3% on the, but what can we do is what I'm asking. Here's the situation. Can we help at all? Is there anything we could do? That's because I was quoted in the paper as saying, oh yeah, tax as much as you can, we can spend it all. I did say that, but the whole context wasn't there. The context was
Whatever you can collect on
whatever you
wheel
can collect,
tax,
we can spend it.
Put it in the street.
We're short,
Right,
there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But is there any way that I can help over here if I'm taking here? Or we need roads, let's spend it on roads, but if we're not spending it somewhere else, rainy day fund's a good idea. I love the idea. I'm glad Rick's got her back on the health insurance in case we get in trouble there, sounds like. I love the idea of throwing some money at the jail. But is there a way to save some money for our taxpayers? That's all just discussion.
Discussion's always good.
Okay.
Digging into the data is where all this stuff comes from.
Yep, good point.
Okay, anything, Andrew? Do you have anything to add?
Jody brought up to me in the ordinance, so we just did the first reading, I think, on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then next week would be the second and third, potentially?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
but that's all I have, I think.
Thanks for that correction, or that addition, or
Yeah.
Yep, and,
reminder. Let's
Yep.
put it that way.
yep, Susan can keep that in line for next week, and then, and we probably getting to the point of, getting close to needing to shut down for the executive session,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even if he's not here,
Yeah.
just to make it look clean on the timelines.
All right.
Yeah. Anything else?
We
Anyone?
like clean.
We like how you keep us in line.
Well, Susan and Jody are the ones that do a really good job on that. I try there, but they're good at that.
Okay, anything else? Anyone? Okay, then we'll stand adjourned.
And he's how far out, Mike?
He said he'd be here about 10:45, so.
Okay, good. Did you read through all this?
Yeah.